Hi, thank you for joining me for my second creative team project for Hey Little Magpie, once again using the Groovy Darlin collection from Jen Hadfield for American Crafts. And today I'm documenting a photo of our trip to Hyde Park last summer when we went to see Billy Joel. Amelia and I went and saw a lovely concert in the park, and the sunset was just incredible. It was a really hot day and the sun was setting behind us, so the stage is opposite where the sun is, and we were very lucky to have amazing tickets right at the front of the stage. And when I looked back and just saw the crowds and that sun setting, it was just phenomenal. So I wanted to record that, and I thought these papers would be really nice to do that. So I'm starting off by using some of the texture paste from Tim Holtz. I just wanted a little bit of texture on the background. So I grabbed this knitting pattern style stencil because I thought that would work really nicely, just to add texture. I didn't really want anything that was obviously floral or obviously something else, so that worked nicely. And then at the bottom I'm using this sunburst stencil from Stampers Anonymous by Tim Holtz and my gold glaze, and just pushing that through as if to make the sun rays coming down onto the crowd in the photo. So now I'm pulling out some Shimmers paints. I've got them here. I've got Shimmers Sunflower, Inklings Good as Gold, Shimmers Here I Am, and Shimmers Precious Metal. And I'm just going to splodge those over the stenciling, the texture paste, just to add some colours all the way over that texture paste. Now most of this, or a lot of this, does get covered by the photo and bits and pieces that I add, but the thought was there. And I didn't want just one flat colour, I wanted to bring in a few different colours. So I've gone with the tones, again, the tones of the sunset really. This is probably the darkest one, the Precious Metal, but it adds something really nice to the page. So they look much darker now when they're wet, but as they dry, they do lighten up. So I've splodged the colours around, and then I'm just adding some splatters with various colours, making sure that I bring them low enough, because I do want them to be covered by the bottom edge to be covered by the photo, and then just bringing in a little bit more of that orange. And I'm really happy with the way those colours work together. So it's more or less dry now, so I'm going to add my photo to some white cardstock just to provide a little border before matting it onto some papers. And then the papers that I'm choosing, there's a sort of cream and gold check, this one, and on the reverse it's a very dark navy denim, and I think that works really nicely with this photo. So I shall cut a four, I think it's about 4 inches, no, probably about 4.5 inches wide, and then cut that into two 6-inch pieces. And then I'm just going to offset them against one another as layers behind the photo. And I tend to offset when I'm layering, just to provide interest, so it's not just single blocks of colour on top of single blocks of colour. When they're offset, then you get more of one colour on one side and more of one colour on the other, and you want that balance. So if I offset the first one to the left, the second one will be to the right, and so on, so that there's balance behind the photo. So there we go, that's all stuck down. Just going to distress those edges again, and then I can start adding to the rest of the page. So once I've done this, I can see how the photo is going to sit on those colours, and we can work from there. So just mopping up the rest. I was being a bit impatient, so just mopping up what was left on the page. You would have had more variation in colour had you left it to dry completely on its own, but I was happy with how that looked. And then I wanted to create a bit of a shelf for the photo to sit on. So I'm starting off with this lovely, it's sort of a golden coloured paper with little hearts, little pink hearts all over it. And then this film strip is cut from black cardstock using one of the Hey Little Magpie dies, the film strip frames set. Gosh, I'm all tongue-tied today. So now adding a bit of that really dark navy as a shelf, and I love the look that gives. I like the darkness of that paper against the mustardy tones. So now I'm going to bring in some of the ephemera and papery pieces. I have gone straight for the cassette tape because obviously we're at a concert, so music ephemera works really nicely. I'm just using my T-square ruler to get this piece straight. I wanted to make sure it was straight on the page before I carried on, especially with the pattern of the paper being so straight as well. So you can see there, it's not fully covering the painting that I've done on the left and right hand side of the photo, so I am going to resolve that shortly by bringing another piece of paper in. So I'm bringing in some more of this checkerboard paper, so I'll have 3 layers as the shelf, and I'm just working with the torn edges each time rather than trimming it off and then tearing another edge. Just work with what you've got. It just saves a bit of paper as well, you know, because I'm sure it's not something we've got a lot of, is it really, in our stash? Oh my goodness, sometimes I drive myself crazy. So just going to get these bits stuck down, like I say, as the shelf really, and then I can carry on layering after that. And I will be bringing in ephemera pieces around, so it doesn't matter if there's a little bit of white card showing where there should be paint on the left and right, that's going to be covered anyway. So bringing that film strip back in, and you can see I just tore it in half or cut it in half in the middle because it's going to be behind the photo anyway, so I wanted it to look like one continual piece. And I shall glue that down with my Nuvo glue just to get it stuck down over all that texture paste and everything. And you can see I've left a tiny white gap between that and those shelves. I just thought it worked best because otherwise it was such a dark colour on top of another dark colour. I like the definition that gave. So deciding where to put the photo on, I decided to bring it down here, and then I'm going to start layering. So I want to mount the photo onto some foam pads. So these are the 25mm Sticks 2 foam pads that we sell in the shop on a roll, and they're absolutely brilliant. And you can see I just cut them up into strips of 6 and then use those from that box. So just pulling these backing pieces off, and then I can get that photo stuck down and then carry on embellishing around it. So most of the ephemera pieces that I've got are from the papery pack. I do have one of the ephemera packs mixed in as well, so that smaller cassette tape is from the ephemera pack, and then this larger piece is from the papery pack, and that papery pack has a lot of very big pieces in it. So again, these are washi stickers from the papery pack, but I've decided to keep them with the backing on and just stick them as they are so that they're more opaque. I didn't want them to be so thin and flimsy. I want to use them as ephemera pieces this time. So that one says wow, and it really was wow the whole day. And it's covering a few people in the crowd, but they're not people we know, so it really doesn't matter. It was the sun that I was focusing in on really. There we go, so that's that piece. And then I find this Best Day Ever, and I decide to overlap that onto that wow piece. So I'm just going to add some foam to the right hand side, and then I'll just glue the other bit down onto the wow circle. There we go, and you can see I'm very slowly starting to build up a diagonal line going from top left to bottom right. So everything's sitting on a shelf, and then you've got that lovely visual line, and that's the way I find it easier to do my diagonals most of the time, because that's the way we read, isn't it? Left to right. So just adding some foam behind these ephemera pieces and then gluing the right hand side flat against the page just to create a little bit of lift and definition on the page again. So here's my huge handful of ephemera and papery pieces, so just having a look through to see what else there is, see what I can find. And I like this green piece that says smile, and in the end I tuck that underneath that photo at the bottom, just there next to the wow, and that works really nicely. So there we go. So once again that is a washi sticker, but I'm just keeping it on the backing. And then I really like this piece that says while you were out, but it's way too big. And when I folded it in half like that, I just thought it looked really cute. So I've decided to keep it folded in half like that and just tucked under at the top there. A little ticket, which does go to the right hand side in the end, just there. And just the colour works nicely with all the colours on the page. And obviously concerts are ticketed, so that works beautifully. And then a tab, of course, for the top, which will just sit there. And these little square pieces, I use them on my previous layout. They're actually the punch out bits from the film strip die cut that's in the papery pack, but they work really nicely as just little tucky bits going around the page. And this little frame again is separating two other die cuts, but I'd kept it there in the pack, and that worked nicely as well, just as another little bit of interest and texture added to the right hand side of the page. It's very, very flimsy, so I'm being a little bit careful, but I had it on an angle in the end, just having to peel up the foam pads behind that photo. Almost there, and there we go. I decide I've had enough messing and I'm just going to leave it as is. So I'm going to glue down this tab, and I will use my roller date stamp to add the date to that shortly, and then add this lovely little black square. I've cut it in half, save the other half for another day. And then I find this notebook paper, and I'm just going to trim that notebook edge off and use that at the top. It's got tiny little pink dots on it. It's a really nice paper, and it's got a nice saying at the bottom, which I'm sure I'll use on a future page. So just getting that tucked in there. Contemplating using this piece, but I don't in the end. I didn't want to cover up all that stenciling that I'd done at the bottom. So here's a little tag that's going to go in on the left hand side there, and I'll just add a little bit of twine, still trying to make that piece of paper work there on the right hand side. But as I say, it doesn't get used in the end, so just leave it there for now, and stick this tag in place, and I'll add some twine, and that's where I decide that it's really not going to fit, adding that down there. So this twine is just a silver grey, and I'm just tying it in a bow there. And then some floral pieces, and I'm just going to tuck one. Actually, I glue it underneath that Best Day Ever piece, and then I find another little blue one that I add to the bottom right hand corner. So as I say, just building up that diagonal line on the page. So just bringing in my date stamp to add the date at the top there. This is another washi tape piece, but it looks like a sun, so I thought that would work really nicely at the top. So just adding some glue to get that stuck down. And then this is a very old Studio Calico sticker sheet, and I just wanted to spell out BST Hyde Park, which is where we were. And that blue is perfect with the blues, the bluey greens in this collection. So adding my journaling on this right hand side, so again following that diagonal. And then this is that little blue piece that I find. And finally, I'm going to come in with some little gold stickers. These are just little glitter stickers that I got from, I don't know, just a pound shop, I think, years ago. And I just wanted to use some of those to add a little bit of sparkle on the page. And that's it done. Thank you so much for joining me. I really hope I've inspired you to reach for this collection. It really is gorgeous. Thanks again. Bye.